other stalwarts of the FOSS user group in Natick, which is all over the place these days now that we're not meeting physically in Natick. But we're in Natick and we say hello from there. Um, and let me see, I'm going to try to do a swap. And once I do, this is tricky. Um, Entire screen, I'll take that. Share it. I said share, I thought it would listen. Entire screen. Share, come on guys.
Oh, do you have to click on this down here?
I wouldn't think so,
You do.
but maybe I do. You can see I haven't been doing this yesterday or today. And now I am talking to everybody through Jitsi as the program and Jitsi Meet as the free host server that provides services for such things. And I am using Chromium to do that because my favorite Firefox and Jitsi are not quite in gear with each other. So if anyone out there is coming in with Firefox or with Safari for that matter, please switch to Chrome or Chromium if you're talking with us. If you're just clicking to sit in on the meeting, no problem. You can use any browser you like. So those are the rules for the afternoon. And I am going to try to bring up a screen of my own in Firefox, which you should now be able to see. Let's see if that works well. And I guess I'm going to look for
You're here.
this one, I think. That's the one I think I want to go to.
Okay, and you're up.
And it doesn't quite fit the screen. Let's see if I can get that fixed. Oh, good. I've got everything I want for today all on screen at once. I'm running Firefox here. I'm talking to you through Chromium.
Actually, that's
They're running.
Thunderbird.
Actually, I'm in Thunderbird. I'll be in Firefox when I click on something. Firefox and Thunderbird both come from Mozilla. They go well with each other, and I tend to think of them as a group. Okay, we have had a beginning meeting. I am going to look at this reminder for me, which tells me to make a big cursor. If you're having trouble reading my cursor, I'm about to fix that. I'm going to use the Unity Tweak tool. I've demonstrated this in the past. This is mostly a reminder for me, but I'm going to open the Unity Tweak tool, and in it, I'm going to pick cursors. And I already have a red cursor. I think I'll keep that, but I'll make it a large cursor. That's somewhat bigger. That's all I wanted to do. And now I'm talking a little louder visually. That should help some. I made a note out at the very beginning today to mention this item. All of these will be live links for you probably later tonight, certainly tomorrow. And first one I made here is a very interesting page I thought some newbies would like a lot. Still on Linux on Windows 7, don't want Windows 10, consider switching to Linux. And this is a guide specifically for the Ubuntu that Jill and I like, and some of the other members like a lot. It's quite good, but some of our members prefer other versions of Linux as well. So this is particularly nice if you're casing the joint, getting ready to try it out. It'll help you make some decisions. A word of warning. After it got done, it led to a lot of questions and answers on Reddit for newbies. I thought most of them were not answered all that clearly and easily, and most of them had easy, comforting answers that I didn't see showing up quickly. So I'm not sure it's the best place to get your regular support, but this article I thought was very good indeed. We'll take a quick look to see what it looks like. Here's my Firefox kicking in. And now that it's kicked in, there's where that link took it. And why shouldn't I go with Linux? It starts with arguments against, and then it goes to arguments for. I thought it was quite well done from an overview standpoint, and I recommend it. Probably work it into some other places on our website in the future. So people might want to take a look. There might be too like it for other popular versions that are just as good or better. Let's see, back I go. There I go. No. Let me see what I did. That's where I want to be. Okay, feeling out what I did to my computer today. And let's see, here we are. Let's talk about some FOSS news since last month. One of them I flagged is the Thunderbird project. Originally, Firefox and Thunderbird were all one multi-purpose package, sort of like LibreOffice is one, or Microsoft Office is one. And this was a package that included those components and other ones, and it was called SeaMonkey. I still use SeaMonkey Composer to create web pages. I like it, and it suits me. Small, fast, effective. But the other parts all split apart into different products, and one became Firefox for browsing the net. Very good. And one became Thunderbird, and after a while, Thunderbird became supported separately. It didn't get as much support from Mozilla. It stayed under the Mozilla roof. I thought it had finally parted ways with Mozilla when I saw it at a different site, but it turns out it's a no Mozilla site. So the Thunderbird project has moved to the Mozilla Foundation's new MZLA Technologies Corporation site, and it is supported by Mozilla. Good. I like that they're coming back together in that sense. So I thought that was nice news for me, and maybe for many others. Here's something a little like that. It's a little premature, but I think it's going to be big news. Google is the biggest purveyor of Linux, or more accurately, of a version of updated Unix that came out parallel with Linux. And it came out at the University of California in Berkeley. So it's USB. I'm confused. Anyway,
it's UCB.
UCB.
Thank you. It is. I got it right and didn't believe it. So anyway, Google is running as close to Linux as you can get. It's a proprietary version. It's on all those smartphones out there. So Linux, in fact, far outnumbers Windows in terms of installations. Amazing. But it's proprietary, and they tend to lock you in to go to their software, and half of it costs money, and they get a cut of it, etc. So when Canonical, which is the company that puts out Ubuntu, partnered with Google, we thought that was good news and that was bad news, and we weren't sure how much of which. You can read the article, but the first thing that's coming out of it is Flutter is coming to Ubuntu. Flutter is going to allow Linux programmers to program basically for all operating systems at once, automatically. And if you believe that, I'll tell you another one. That's exactly what they're working on. They think it's very close to being ready to roll easily. You can get on it and beta test it and work it out now if you want to be a hotshot developer. but theoretically, this is going to allow any program we like to run on any operating system. Good news for our Unix running other programs, or Linux, Unix, whichever. But in addition to that, it means, for instance, that the one I contribute the most to, Photox, will now run smoothly on Apple. It might get very interesting. So we shall see. I recommend it as a good read. And maybe holding your breath a little while. NatickFOSS news. I talked to several people in the last week who are thinking of moving to Linux. Or more accurately, they've been thinking about it long enough and they are thinking they'll stop thinking and move. And they wanted to know where to begin.
I think they're getting bored of being working from home or something.
Or being used by Microsoft or whatever. But anyway, the guide I mentioned will be useful to get ready to do that. When you're ready to do it, the guide may suffice. Our group may be helpful. And of course, there's plenty online. This one that I'm about to recommend is on the history that I just very, very briefly touched on of how Unix, A, first happened, and B, split off into things for the little new use them at home computers back when that happens. This is a very lovely guide. Let's take a quick look at that. And tink-a-tink. About now, please. Goodness gracious, it was coming up quicker than this last time I tried. Here we go. And I rather like the looks of it. Had a lot of good information. Some of us were talking about these a little earlier. And when they turned the size and price that some of us could afford to bring home.
By the way, could I interject?
Yeah.
You see those little tapes up there?
Uh-huh.
Those were deck tapes. Those were actually random access tapes.
Random access tapes.
Yes.
That means you really need a nice drive not to snap them.
Yeah, it's they were actually index sequential tapes, and you when you mounted them, they'd come to a center point of the tape, and then you could treat them as you would a disc.
Amazing.
It was really strange. I've actually used them, so it was really crazy.
How much could you store on a tape?
I don't really remember. Wasn't a tremendous amount, but it was in a small and a large size mag tape.
I'm guessing it might not have been 32 gigabytes.
Maybe not.
More like 32 bytes. No, 32 megabytes.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you couldn't buy it for $3 either.
No, digital had a nice profit on them.
My things have changed. So anyway, this is a wonderful Linux-oriented report of how things have changed.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. Very nice. We have so many of these this month. I like that. Let's see. I believe I went back to maybe to that. No, to you can't kid me. Here we are. Okay. And so that's that. On well, I mentioned hardware for a minute. Let me just take a quick look myself on the hardware section.
Is there one?
I did not list it.
Uh-oh.
So when we get to hardware, I just mentioned 32 gigabytes, $3. And I'll try to remember that when we get here. Meanwhile, software. Here's one. Install Unity Desktop on Ubuntu. For the Ubuntu users of Linux, I much prefer it with the Unity front end, which came from Ubuntu, but is no longer the default front end. I like it a lot better than the default. It's still maintained, and we've in the past given instructions, given you places here for how to install it easily. But this is a 5-minute video on doing it that I also thought was nice. It's for an earlier version. It works fine on the current version. So I thought I'd just flag that. Mozilla Thunderbird 78 got released quite recently. And in fact, my Ubuntu Software Center has me still up to date, in quotes, on 68.10. And so 78 turns out to be the next release after 68. Go figure. It's not that there were 10 releases in between, just upgrades. But 78 comes with a little warning attached. And the warning attached says maybe you'd like to wait for 78.2.1. Why? Well, it's apparently not quite as smooth as they'd like, and it's missing at least one feature. It has full built-in open PGP support, which means your secret passwords will stay secret and you don't have to link in other programs to do it. But it also means you can't use another popular program for doing that, Enigmail. So it has a lot of security built in, but the other piece didn't fit in on time. And even though it's gone up 2 points already from 78, they're still saying the Enigmail didn't quite make it into 78.2. If you don't want to play with something that's halfway between a beta and a release, you might want to wait a little bit. But it's your choice, and you can read all about it now, and it does look significantly nicer. I'm going to wait for Ubuntu to update to it, and when it does, I'll hop on very happily because I've read the intro already.
Dick, I just want to interject a little bit. It's my experience that Enigmail always comes a little bit late to Thunderbird. When a version of Thunderbird is released, you have to wait a little bit for Enigmail, unfortunately.
Well, now we call these truths to be self-evident.
Yeah, I've had this occur before because they're different maintainers.
Okay, but it gets good once it's there, right?
Yep.
I think that's their message at this point, but they didn't want to say it that way.
Yep.
But thanks. That's the other half of the story. So that's it for now. You can read all about the new features and either grab them early or wait for the full package to come together. I'm sure there'll be further updates. Anyway, again, there have been 10 for 68. So settle back and enjoy it. Now, today I've been featuring something smaller than your computer on a number of items we picked up. I'm about to hit the first one of the bunch. Down one size from computers is smartphones and the Google Android on them, which is, there's tablets, I guess. They're in the middle. And smartphones are small tablets. And I have not been that interested in smartphones other than as an emergency phone device. We have a system in our home office that sits separate from the smartphones, therefore when we're traveling and need them. But the last smartphone I purchased was not a smartphone, in my opinion. It replaced my camera, and it just happened to include a smartphone. And since then, I've been using my smartphone every day and maybe once a week for a call. So two different takes on a smartphone, and I'll be mentioning that some today. Under software, I want to mention it because my smartphone is mostly a camera, came with a perfectly nice camera program for running the camera in it. The phone happens to be an LG V30. The V30, the V30 Plus, and the V30 Slim Q are all basically the same camera that I recommend highly, except for one or two little things. And I just found this new program. I've been running it for weeks. I'm getting to really, really like it. So you can load this in easily from the Google Play Store, or you can go online and get it from these guys themselves. And again, it's called Open Camera. I'll give you the link to it. You can read all about it. I find it's given me more of a professional camera, something a little more like I'd expect in a single lens reflex. And I like its features a lot. So again, highly recommended for those people who want to take that trip. I keep doing that, don't I? And then come on, how do you? Oh, real soon I'm going to remember, maybe. So that is Open Camera. Highly recommended again for those who play with it. If we have time at the end, I might show you some of its tricks. Hardware, this is cleverly parsed out by me. I want you to appreciate it. It gets smaller and smaller as we go through the list. So first we'll talk about desktop computers. Should you run your desktop computer full time? Never turn it off. Well, my first thought was, of course you shouldn't. You're wasting a lot of time unless you're on it 16 out of the 24 hours. Sure, you shouldn't shut it down for 5 minutes and come back up again. What's the problem with shutdown? Well, first of all, it takes a bunch of time to come up again compared to just clicking the window. Secondly, and that depends how powerful the computer is as to how much time. Secondly, it takes more power to come up again. You're starting up things that were already running. In many cases, it's more than just the computer. It might be the printer, etc. Thirdly, when you start things is when you put the most likely surge of power into them. And this article makes good sense of talking about how your light bulbs almost always blow when you start them. They didn't blow during the last time you were running them. The incandescent ones blow right when you start them, the one time too many. Why don't they blow in the middle? Because it's a startup surge that's the heavy load. He points out another interesting fact. He points out that 70% of the energy your computer is ever going to use in its entire life, on the average, 70% of that time, of that energy, was expended before you ever turned it on.
What?
The manufacturing load for making one computer is over twice as much as all the energy you'll ever spend running it. Wow.
But you're not paying
So,
directly for it.
so if you can make it last longer, you're also affecting that 70% of the load by not coming back as soon for your next one. A thought had never occurred to me. I thought that was astonishing. Really nice article. Give it a kick, see what you think about it. It says desktop. I don't think you're about to run your laptop full time. You could, and if it's all solid state, you might not mind the fact that you're twirling around hard drives when you're carrying it and bouncing it a little bit. But I still think it's more appropriate for desktops for this command, and particularly, of course, in offices where they're running long periods of time. You can turn off your web browser, and you can turn off some other utilities to get to the internet, to get to your local network, and turn them back on with much less load on the computer. And he goes through how you decide which ones you want and don't want. Lovely article with some new thinking in the box. Next case, we're coming down one step to something that's not a computer, but it is a computer. It's a robot. Put it together, assemble it yourself, robot kit. You can add other parts to, yours or theirs. You can add programming to its programming, yours or theirs. It's open source. It's ready for you to play or for your school class to play. $50, a Kickstart program by 2 engineers at Intel. This one's going to be good. And you can read all about it, and you can place an order. Let's take a look at one. Here's one. And you save a bunch of money by strapping your smartphone onto it and letting them talk to each other. What a clever idea. It'll roll around, it'll re-aim it at different places, it'll do things, and you can add lots of components to it. Do we have more good hints further down? You can build it. I think some of you are going to be demonstrating this at a future meeting. And here's a video of it. And we can come back to this later too, if there's time. So one more good one to know about. I don't seem to be able to get there in one step, do I? Nope. Interesting. Fair enough. Let's see. That's the robot. As to smartphones that are cameras, I've given you a link to what really impressed me about the one that I use. It's this 9-minute video, and they're comparing it to your average $50,000 professional video camera. Wait till you see the comparison video. So you'll enjoy that. And then you can look up that camera or one of the other ones. This one was going mine was going a few years ago, the LG V30, for $830. And you can buy them factory refurbished like new for around $150, sometimes better. So these make a hell of a lot of sense to play with. Instead of a bigger camera, if they're meeting your needs, and this $50,000 one is telling you, it just might, here's my camera strapped onto it, so they're both taking exactly the same video at the same time. And that's its camera right in there.
Strapped on with duct tape?
Yep. So that's a simple demo of comparing two videos fairly. It's a great show. Enjoy. Let's see. Will it take me back in one step? No. I'd still get back quickly. I'm getting this worked out today, I think, for this final smoothness. Let's see. So the camera idea is worth pushing, and that's a good starting point for it. But I got intrigued because wristwatches now have cameras. Wristwatches can now synchronize with your camera or your smartphone camera. Wristwatches can now synchronize with everything else on your smartphone and let you do it from your wristwatch, which may be safer if you're driving. I think that's a trade-off. I'm not particularly recommending it, but it's a thought. And anyway, Um, the uh, the idea sounded very tempting, and I wanted to know more about it. But with smart wristwatches going for $150 to $300 for the nice ones, I wasn't motivated to do the research. I just did the research. I paid $12. You can do it for 11. I ordered it last Thursday night. It was in the mail from the New York City area um, by early Friday morning. And Labor Day was no delivery. I had it on Tuesday. Wonderful company. So if you want it fast, pay $12. If you want to wait about 2 to 3 more days, uh, this one is coming in from California, and 1169. I thought I had a better deal than that for you.
The 777 over there.
No, that one's not from California.
Oh.
Well, there was one here. Let me see. News. Oh, here we go. 1085. I don't understand what the upper price was about then. 1085, and you can get it in your choice of colors. I think. Here we go. Silver, black, gold, or white. And I chose the gold one. And comes with a lot of stuff in the box. Just a minute. And we'll go to this. Here's a few of the apps that come along with it. And I'm beginning to like this thing a lot. It has 3 slots in it, one for a battery, and it comes with the battery. It's a rechargeable that ought to last a few years. But if you want to charge a second or a third, you can open it and pop them back and forth quickly. Say if you were out in the woods for 2 days and you wanted to use the phone a lot, that'd be a terrible mistake. Oh, you're in a forest fire, they cut the electricity. There you go. Better order the fast delivery one. In any case, it has 1 slot for the battery. You pop the battery out, and there's 2 slots hiding under it. One of them is for a SIM card. Yes, you don't need a smartphone. You can turn the watch into the entire smartphone. Just move a SIM card in. And it takes most common flavors of SIM card. You might want to check in advance to make sure that the one you like is compatible. So that's one option. It also has a second card for up to 32 gigs of a micro SD card. And we were talking about that in terms of those old DEC tape drives. I went to get one. I thought we had a few sitting around, but Shill's Critter Cams have commandeered all of them. So I went to order one in. If you're handy to downtown Boston, Micro Center in Cambridge will let you pick up their brand of 32 gigabyte micro SD ready to pop in for $3.29. So that's the cheap way to get one of those. I don't know of anything online that's that cheap. That's astonishing to me. They won't mail that one. You have to go in and pick it up, unlike most of their products.
Well, they'll mail it, but it costs 3 times as much.
Oh, that's right. I think the minimum mailing cost was $6. So if you want to get enough of them, they'll mail them. Or if you want to spend a lot, you can buy it up the street for that kind of price. But I thought that was astonishing. Then I did the math. That's 10 cents a gigabyte. Do you know what else is 10 cents a gigabyte? The much fancier SSD drive that you're going to put in your laptop is going for around $100 for a 1 terabyte drive. So I think 10 cents a gigabyte is what they're both starting to begin to think about aiming at. And we can get the ones that look like a hard drive, but are an SSD. We can get those for under 100 now in a 1 terabyte size, but you still pay more almost every time. 110 might be a low cost if you're buying it as a flat chip that plugs in.
The M2 chip, they're called.
Well, yeah, there's several of them, and they're called M.2s,
Yep.
but they come in sizes. My computer wants an M.2 with a model number that ends in 4 digits that are 2242. The most common ones nowadays end in 4 digits that are 2280. These are the dimensions in millimeters, the length and width of it. The thickness is very thin, of course. So be careful which one you order. Other than that, they're almost all compatible, but you can afford to ask if you're ordering it by mail and make sure it's going to fit your computer. So you can put in any size SIM card up to that micro SD of 32, and you can use it with all the phone features built in if you put in, if you put in the SIM card, or you can put it in alone, and you can Bluetooth connect this watch to your computer or to your smartphone. So you can leave your smartphone set up as is, but have it sit in the in your pocket or the seat next to you in the car, the console, and you can have your wristwatch act as if it's the phone when it's not. It's flexible, all those things.
Why do I
Of course,
think
for
the sound is gonna be
$11,
better on
for
the phone?
$11, you could just say, never mind either. This is the nicest wristwatch I've ever got for $11. If you like, you can order it from China, quantity one, $7, or starting, I think, at quantity 4, $5. And they say it'll arrive by December 4th at the latest, more likely early November. Typically, it takes a month. So,
On the other hand, we've gotten a couple of things from China that came 4 or 5 days after that last date. So.
we find exceptions both ways, but they're exceptions. So I think if you want to order for Christmas, you can bring in a whole batch of $5 each. They're lovely little toys, but it did take some time figuring out how to get started. And a little stylus that isn't going to scratch the screen would be nice. This one is water resistant, but not waterproof. Don't go swimming with it. I haven't tried to see if it can recover later, and I don't plan to. Excuse me. And to get to all of its apps, you have to install the app that connects it to the web, and through your smartphone, at least temporarily, onto the Google Play Store, which is how I did it, or to a different place that they recommend in their instruction manual, which requires not a magnifying glass, but a microscope to read it. I've never seen as fine print on anything. But you can also find it online, the whole manual, 13 pages. And it's in awkward but readable English. And it leads you to a different site, which yesterday was either totally dead or down. So I found the equivalent application, which is called BT Notifier, stands for Bluetooth Notifier. And it will take this wristwatch's Bluetooth and link it so you can bring in this one app. Once you have this app, it'll also hook to some programs within the watch that are depending on tools within BT Notifier to save space. So you may need that trick that I learned yesterday. I'm just getting to meet the watch, and I'll have more to tell you about it next month. Um, so much for that guy. Let's go back and see what else we've got in the box here. Um, I will add on to this list. You'll please make a note of it.
Mhm.
Uh, Micro Center's incredible good deal on the $3.29 32 gigabyte RAM card that'll fit in this smartwatch and most everything else you have that can take RAM. It does not come with the standard adapter at that price, but for $5 they'll sell you one with the adapter. They all do the same fast, nice job. Very happy with them. By the way, you can use it for a backup drive. Think of that. Uh, so
Yeah, you want the terabyte size for that.
yeah, you can buy those in a terabyte too. The wristwatch can't see them though. Okay. What other toys do we have today? We have somebody was mentioning this earlier in the chat session beforehand. And by the way, for people just dialing in late, we have decided we will start the chat help session at 2:45 next month, and we will phase into the formal session at 3 if enough people are online. If not, we may wait a while and keep chatting. So you can play it accordingly, and we'll have that explained in a day or two online. Anyway, Track the Wildfires is putting together a bunch of nice tools and pieces to bring you this. A friend of ours happens to live right about here.
Oh, I thought it was down here. Oh, yeah. There.
About here. So the set of fires, which stretches further north as well, is interesting him greatly. This is the direction it's been moving. They have it contained. The red dots on this are totally burned out areas. White ash. Some of them were redwood trees. A lot of them were pines. A lot of them were other interesting forest. And they include homes. They don't include many dead bodies, happily, but they include a lot of people who have to move out and may not be too happy to move back for a long time to come. This is a climate change issue, and this is also a federal state support issue on several levels, and it's getting interesting. And the tool is one where you can put in the address you want up in its upper left. See me up here? And you can key in the address, town, and state, and it'll take you there and do the same trick if it's in the database. I think it will be if it's the Western US fires, and I think it may cover a lot more than that. This is Northern California, which I know is very well covered.
There are actually a lot of small fires in the southeast.
Well, all of these are small fires that were put out. When there's a bigger one, these yellow ones, etc., you can read the code, but it tends to be a lot of small ones where they have firefighters. If they can't get the firefighters in time, then it's a big one. But it's a big mess of small ones, making the firefighters.
You can zoom in a lot too. Down to
yeah, you can zoom in on this. You can zoom out on this. It's a very powerful program for what too many of us are worrying about friends at this point. Highly recommended. That'll be in your click list for tonight. Okay, and
Alternative to.
I'm looking at several things at once here. Okay, uh, the alternative.net is here because of Buell, which I mentioned. And that's here because someone else mentioned it a month or two ago and it was coasting. Alternative do not yet is my favorite tool for putting in anything that I sort of kind of like, but it doesn't quite fit either my computer, my needs, or my wishes. For instance, it might not be a Linux version. It might be only something I've used in Windows and I want it. And I want to know, okay, if I can't have it, what can I have like it? You go to alternative 2 and anything in Windows that I like, I don't remember anymore. I'll put in Open Office and I'll say find. And here's Open Office. It'll give me all the information on that, including that Apache's version of Open Office will run on Linux, as well as about everything else. So that's one start. Is that the only one? LibreOffice is not only the one I like. I'm wearing its conference T-shirt today. Green T-shirt I'm wearing is for LibreOffice from a few years back. And so that's an option. It'll work for me. Linux, Mac, Windows, Linux. And what I was trying to remember wasn't UCB, University of California, Berkeley. It was BSD, Berkeley, San Diego, which is where, in fact, BSD was developed from Unix, more or less in parallel with Linux. And it is what Apple iOS grew out of. So all the same package, really, these two. So here's the Mac, here's the BSD that the Mac's from, and here's the Linux. The minority one in this list is Windows. And it is indeed the minority, unless you're just counting computers themselves and not smartphones. Interesting new things going on out there.
Dick, it's Berkeley Software Distribution, not San Diego. It was developed at the University of California, Berkeley.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
Bill Joy, one of the developers, went to work for Apple.
That will be showing up too in that Unix history manual.
Yeah.
And I thought I might have remembered it, but I was wrong. Thanks. Okay. LibreOffice has components you can get without the whole thing. Here comes Microsoft Office Suite. They're covering everything but Linux at the moment. That doesn't mean you can't use it, because you can run Windows programs in Linux with a translator program, but I'm not particularly recommending you do so. And there's more. So here's a lot of answers, and quite a few of them are going to turn out to be proper for Linux. No problem. Most of them are free. And a lot of them are going to be open source as well. If you're a developer, you could actually twitch them to do more that you like, or to add your package to them, etc.
Yep, should be coming on momentarily.
Live streaming is on.
Okay, that was a break for live streaming. Again, I repeat that alternative2.net can lead you to a lot of free open source packages, or packages just to run on a Windows computer that the package is only for Mac, or vice versa. Good program to know about. And I'll use it to segue into that comment below when I get there. But first, I occasionally want to import either a whole website, that's very unusual, or a big chunk of a website. For example, a manual which sits on a website out there as a folder with maybe 100 chapters and illustrations, all as separate files within a folder on the website. I could import the entire folder and it may still run and it may not. It may still run because it may have all those files leaning on each other through relative addressing. But often they're sitting there through absolute addressing, and the index.html file that runs them all will run on my computer, but then it will go look on the other computer for the other files. This will make them slower, but worse, if I'm not online at the time, my computer can't run that manual. The worst case of all is the other direction, where they did give you the relative indexing, but you didn't bring over anything but the index file. And now you can't index anything. It's not on your computer in the right place. So it'd be nice to have a program that just does it right onto your computer, or for the matter, onto some other remote computer you're trying to put it on, say for a client. And you can be the middleman and do that, providing you have the permissions. HD track is the tool you want. Really good. HT track. And this says, please visit our website. But in fact, I'm visiting it right now. And it'll lead you to all the other parts. It's quite lovely. Has options you can set. But I was able to do my job translating a hell of a lot of files in about 6 folders for the one manual, transferring them all to my computer. I didn't have to set anything special except the name of my computer and the name of the folder and the path to the folder on my computer where I wanted it to sit. Simple as that. So this is highly recommended for that kind of a transfer. When you're not bringing over a file, you bring over one big mess of files from the same place, and they all deal with each other. Well done, people. They did a good job on it. Of course, it's free and it's open source. Oh, by the way, you'll find it has versions for different operating systems. The version for Linux is called Web HT Track. You'll find it there. Make it easy for you. So that's what that's about. In Firefox, which I've been using, not to talk to you, but it's what I've been using for everything that I've been talking to you about. Here it is, and here's my control panel for it, up tippy top. And a bunch of my favorites for it are over on the left. I've got a lot of them, and one thing I like about it is, and about using it.
Wait, those aren't Firefox on the left.
Well, it's not Photox, but Photox is one of these on the left. Using Unity with
We were
Photox.
talking about Firefox.
Wait, please. I'm sorry. Thank you for the warning. I'm talking about 3 things at once. Photox, which I didn't mean to be talking about. Firefox, which I'm about to be talking about. And in my Unity front end for Ubuntu, I have this launcher, which includes much more than will fit at once. But if I go down, it'll come to more of them if I just get to the bottom and let it slow feed to what I want. Or if I know where I'm going, I can jump into it and open it there. with that in mind, I wanted something like that when I'm in Firefox. It's there, but I think most Firefox users don't utilize it well. And that's what I want to talk about now. In Firefox, there's a few little items that you can invoke on an extra line down here. And they are basically favorite tabs, bookmark tabs you can set up to get back to regularly. What I'm working with is going to show up here in the top bar and here. Sorry, this is a control panel bar. This top bar, I usually have something in between in my regular display.
Dick, you're in Thunderbird.
Thank you.
Oh, yes,
Yes, I am.
you are? Oh, right.
And I'm in both. And my tongue got twisted around my eye tooth and I couldn't see what I was saying. Here I am. Here's my programs I've been running. They're all here, ready to wink back and forth from one to another. But those are what I'm doing today. I can also set so whatever group I'm left with today will be there the next time I fire up. That's an option. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about down here, in which I had very little to start with, but I have added folders. For me, they're named Science, Computer, Business, Business and Government, News, Credibility, especially for news, it's right by it. What does a credibility checker think of that brand new news story? I have it handy. Health, medical health items. COVID-19, I keep a few of them where I can get to them fast. For that, for our own doctors' pages, etc. Music, I like to hear music and radio. And there's some places, stations I'll go to. I'll just bring in fast. Weather reports, including things like that fire now and other. The most visited and getting started are there from earlier, but all these others, maybe not other, got added by me and organized by me. And if I go into one, say computer, in it, I'll find, for instance, LXer, which is where I read my Linux newspaper of the day. Here's the FOSS user group that we're paying attention to right now, all of us. Here's alternative to, for the reason I just told you. And I've got various other ones, and they're all in one place, easy to find now. Very nice to do. How do you do it? Well, when you're in a program that's up on top, you just highlight it.
A web page.
I'm sorry, a web page. When you highlight a web page that's active up top, somebody's got their speaker on when they're not speaking. If you could all douse your speakers until you're speaking, your microphone, sorry, not your speakers, your microphones, until you're speaking, there'll be less of that for everybody by accident, and it might go a little faster on the switches. Anyway, any one that you want, you can just click and drag down into the one that you want to put it in. And when you go down into it, it'll let you drop it there. Then the next time you come to there, you'll open it and you'll see the one you want. And you can even drag it up and down to the position you want within the group. It's all built into Firefox now. You don't have to add anything to do it. You can start organizing your web pages a lot better. And I hope people will pay serious attention to this one. It's a win.
Can I add some things?
Yes, Joe?
If you right-click on the page itself.
Here or on the main?
I think on the, say, this page that you're on.
The active page?
Yeah.
Okay, right-click on it. Here we go.
And no, I'm sorry. I think you have to do it up on the tab. Well, no. Sorry. Control D.
From here?
Yes.
Control D. Done.
And then you can tell it which folder you want to put it in.
Oh, lovely. Jill's got another trick.
And if you have subfolders, you can drill down by using the put your cursor
This one?
that little arrow there. And
Isn't that cute? So Control D will get you into the same game if you want in Firefox.
and if you're now close this, just
Done good?
well, that'll put it in there. I'm not sure you want to do it. Just click outside.
Gonzo.
Okay, if you have one of these pulled down and right click it.
If I have what? Oh,
One of your
one of my
yeah,
folders
find one
open.
that has a whole bunch of things in it, and right click in it, and I believe right click. Yeah, one of your choices is you can sort them. No. How do we do that?
Perhaps we'll tell you later. Good.
I
So
know there's a way you
write
can
down
sort them.
Control D and write down this if you can, so we can look it up later. I'll put in the clues.
Dick, can I ask you a question?
Good time.
Number one, how does this differ from saving bookmarks?
It doesn't.
In Firefox, saving bookmarks will be doing this, but these are ways to just click and drag it. I think it's easier.
Well, you can do that in the bookmarks toolbar too.
Yeah, you can. This is the bookmark toolbar.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I'm confusing the two, but second question.
Yeah.
You seem to be endorsing Firefox, yet if I come to your meeting, you tell me absolutely don't use Firefox. What's the status here?
Okay, we've discussed that before, and I was hoping it'd be fixed by this month. I could not confirm that.
Okay.
I have a place in the draft agenda web page online at the beginning where you can click if you want to get into the group to participate. I just changed that last night or today to go to Algot Runeman's 4-page manual on how to do it. And that briefly discusses the issue, and I hope pretty soon we'll be changing the manual and the rules. The issue that remains is originally Firefox did not want to add some particular tools that Jitsi chose to lean upon for its sharing. It doesn't need them to share, but they greatly speed up several parts of the sharing operation when many users are sharing together.
All right.
Now, without that piece in Firefox, Firefox sandbags the speed of Jitsi and sandbags it sometimes in places that will actually crash it.
Okay. That's
So
what
I can have a perfectly happy Jitsi conversation with you using Firefox, no problem.
Okay.
Put 20 or 200 people aboard, and we're waiting for Firefox to get that extra piece. I went and looked yesterday and could not confirm, although some places say it's there and some places say it's not, and none of them seem to have just been updated. And I put in an inquiry and let it ride. So maybe next month, maybe not. It's a good question.
Okay. I just a third one impromptu. Are you seeing Metro West Daily News on your screen?
I can see it. Do you want me
Yeah,
to
you've
look?
got it on now.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yes.
That gentleman there, Natick, Peter Monday, is a relative of my wife.
Haha. Oh,
Okay, cool.
Big surprise. We've known Peter for years.
coincidence, you say? Linux can do anything.
I guess you're right. Yes.
And but maybe not that.
Yeah.
Let me show you one more trick while I'm doing that one, because let me go instead to New York Times. Everybody able to read the New York Times?
Uh,
I'll click on it.
Once, I think.
The New York Times is going to lock me out and tell me I need a subscription. Let's read one. What the heck? I clicked on it. It's coming up. And
As soon as you start.
If it's
scrolling.
about COVID-19, they don't always block you.
yeah, I'm waiting for Times to tell me I can't read it, but I guess it's going to let me read
You
it.
might have to scroll.
So it's not nice.
Ed, with the Times, if it's COVID related, they don't do that.
Okay, let's try something different. Good point. I'm going to a subscription only website,
Book review.
and this doesn't sound like coronavirus. And sometimes I can get away with reading one or two things anyway. Hello? At the top of my screen, my CPU is quite busy. That's this red area here.
Oh, there's your.
Okay, there it is.
And here it just kicked in and said to read that, it would like me to subscribe. I can continue. And I can even create a free account. Instead, I'll say cancel. Watch close, folks. In Firefox, observe the little lock on the address bar. See it? I will click on it. I will click on clear cookies and site data from my computer. That's what it's going to clear. And I will say,
Raise the little window.
Yeah, you've got to raise this window because that's Jitsi down
oh, this
there.
is tricky.
You've got to move this little window up.
So I want to close this window.
No, you move it up.
Okay. Or sideways or something.
Yeah. And you
Perfect.
Now what?
click on remove.
Oh, I see what was going on. So first I clicked on that. Now I click on remove.
And then you
And
reload.
now I reload. This is all in Firefox. And when it comes in, it may give me a little notification that I can subscribe, but it won't demand it. And
Wait a minute, that's COVID-19. Weren't you looking at Republicans up there? No, it says
I was.
Senate did not approve. They collapsed
This
that.
now just says thanks for reading, and I can collapse it. And
You can do pretty much the same thing in Chrome.
yes,
from
good. I want to make sure people know it.
Yes.
Because I'll often list an article, and some people will say, I'm not allowed to see that article. But if I can't see it this way, that you can see it also, I won't list it. So
Also, in Chrome, it is more difficult. You would probably want an extension, and I have an extension called Click and Clean, which allows me to clear everything.
life is easier with Firefox, in my opinion.
Agreed.
In Chrome, I use autonomous mode.
Okay, and so here we are, and now I'll ask again, same one I asked for. I thought it was going to go to it, but I guess it was sitting in a different place.
No, that's the same headline, but it's
What
got,
am I missing?
look at the text is different. I think they screwed up their headline.
Something interesting going on. It's not my usual issue.
It says
But-
Senate did not approve it.
It's talking about the one I asked for. And, or maybe it went to a general listing of it with other ones. Anyway, you can get to it when you get to click the right thing. That's all I wanted to say for now for that. But the bottom line is you can do a lot of work you can do a lot of steps quickly to improve the way you use your web browser. And in Firefox, I've just shown you how. Security and privacy. This is a random bag of stuff this time. Your car is spying on you. How to stop it. was left over from last month, and I think they're very good reads. So I'll publish them this month if we don't get to discuss them more. Your car, the newer it is, the more it's spying on you, unless you figure out how to turn off something, and unless you're allowed to turn off something. And they'll give you several examples where you're allowed to and you do, and it secretly stays on anyway. So do read the article and look for updates on which cars are doing what. How to stop it might be where the update part I'm talking about is. I'm not quite sure which. And thank you, whoever brought this one up. Question 1 on November 3rd in Massachusetts on the big election ballot is the Massachusetts right to repair law. The right to repair law actually got passed, I believe, in 2016, and it got passed in a version that was awkward, and some trades were done, and by consensus, an interim version was moved into place, and it's got some good and some bad in it, and it is being updated to one that has good in it, but a bunch of the car manufacturers are opposing your voting for it. They have a different one they want you to vote for. The argument they're using is that although this one will take their secret connection to your car and allow your repairman up the street to repair your car again, that's what this would do. On the other hand, they say it would give out their secret security on your stuff to the repairman, and that would be a disaster. So you have to keep it in their hands. That's their argument. My argument is that if that secret security number is in your control and you're told it's in your control when you get the car, then you can set it up to be your regular number or better, special security number you've hidden somewhere just for that. And you can share it with who you want and nobody else. And if you don't want to leave it with your local repairman, you just change your security number afterward. Like any other project that has security problems, leaving them in the hands of a company that wants to do all your repair work is unacceptable. And I suggest you read it and read the details and the conversation if you're going to be voting in Massachusetts. I believe I want to vote in favor of this version, question 1, and it will also lead you to the manufacturer's version and to online discussion if you want to see more. You can just do a search on Mass Right to Repair Law. If you're not in Massachusetts, there's a significant chance your U.S. state is also voting on something like it. So you might want to just look for right to repair and see what you come up with for your state. That's about it on that one, unless we come back and look at details.
Dick,
Yes?
I don't know whether you see it or not, but on my screen is a warning that says the room name is unsafe. Unwanted participants may join your conference. Consider securing your meeting using the security button.
Let me see what, did you try clicking alongside of that box?
Well, what that means is that the room doesn't have a password. So anyone can guess the room name and come join us, but that's kind of the point. So,
Well, I think if you click alongside that box, you've been warned. That's true of a lot of places you go to. I think you'll find that you can look there or look elsewhere. You know what you're looking for now. But just click outside the box, and I believe you'll be reading the stuff instead of still reading the
It
warning.
may have done that because my computer, for some reason, wasn't charging its battery, and the battery ran down, and I had to.
No,
Restart it.
I think it might be independent on the local computer.
Okay.
You don't have a waiting room for people to be admitted?
No.
In Zoom, you do. So that if somebody tries to get in, the person who's running in the waiting room can either refuse
Oh,
them.
yes, we can do that. Unless we have a volunteer who wants to manage it, I think it would be too distracting.
The one
Okay.
person, anybody, I believe anybody that's on can kick those other, somebody who gets on and
Yeah.
puts QAnon crap up or something. Anybody can
I
kick them off.
will solicit to see if one of our volunteers wants to be that distracted next month. Put that on, Angela, put that on the list there
Okay.
to see. I don't think I want to be trying to do that at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't
One
think you
interesting-
want me to be trying.
One interesting thing is on my helicopter meetings, I don't get that. But I do get it on this and I think the BLU, and I think it might have to do with the length of the meeting name itself.
Well, I also think I could opt to go the other way with the setup,
You could.
but I don't think I want to. I think you'd want the warning if you were
Yeah.
playing while we're all on.
Yeah, what they're also saying is our meeting group name is easy to guess because we advertise our site.
Agreed. So I think that they're watching you if you don't take steps, and how often. But doing the flip on it to where your local mechanic doesn't have access to your car, that's a little second guessing that they weren't thinking of at the beginning. Maybe the car companies were. What does Google know about you? Well, same question. If you use Google, it turns out they're gathering quite a bit about you unless you take special steps. And several times Google has cheated on the special steps. And I think you'll want to be reading it. And Google is what's running on almost all your Android smartphones. I should mention that. Jill, make a quick mention of this. On almost all your smartphones, unless you've replaced the operating system on the smartphone with F-Droid.
Wait a minute.
F as in FOSS. F-Droid is an alternative operating system to Google, and it's basically built from Google, cleaning up all the places that are issues.
Algot would like to speak.
Dick,
Algot,
Dick,
hop in, Algot.
F-Droid is really a substitute for the Play Store, not an operating system. It's just a different way to get programs for your Android system. It's not a substitute for Android itself.
Replicant's the substitute.
Then there's something like it that is. And
Replicant.
what?
Replicant is the substitute. I put the link in the chat.
Thank you so much. I will follow up on that. And Jill, you've got that noted?
Yes.
I will
Well,
get that
I
straight.
have no idea how to spell it.
Oh, spell it, please.
Replicant, REPLICANT, and the link is in the chat. F-Droid is what they use to distribute the apps. They use it in Replicant, but they're going to do their own, not the official F-Droid one.
Okay, like the actual dictionary word replicant.
Yeah, like on Blade Runner.
Yes, thank you. Okay, excellent. I'll get that straightened out. Thank you. In any case, Google has been taking notes, and there is a way around it, but most Android phone users are not there. So, good reading. It's apt to have mentioned that, by the way. I'm not sure. and remote content and cookie settings in Thunderbird. I'm doing a bunch of setting on mine, and it popped up a few times, and it'll give you a nice rundown of which are which that you want to do something with. So a nice piece to go with the rest of what we've been talking about so much today. Onward to securing Linux-based systems. A nice option for that. And there are many levels on which you can do this, including running your Windows in another operating system, which is very tightly locked down, and running other operating systems as virtual systems within very tightly restricted boxes. There's a lot of ways to go on it. And as we've said in past months, you can run Windows in Linux. You can run Linux in Windows. I say awk to that one, etc. There's a lot of things you can do. So you might have a very stripped down package doing the connection, and you're running your Linux within that under tight controls, etc., etc. This is a different kind of security. What happens when China or Russia or the threats from the wild end of one of the US political parties decide to shut down the internet with a superbug, or with just routing it to something that's a black hole of theirs? The question is, how do you recover? If they do something that crashes drives, well, here's a company that's basically preserving everything in. Oh, these are separate. There's a mistake here. There's a period showing here. There should be a semicolon, right hither. And Vault is preserving all that open source code that you download to get your computer a little more elegant each time, and the manuals and the discussion forums. And how are they preserving it? Deep in an underground vault in the Antarctica, I believe, and taking an extreme step, not connected to the internet. They connect to this with other computers by hand walking it across from the internet. This computer system never sees the internet, and they have solid storage, just permanent storage that isn't even on a computer, that they could bring to a computer later. This is extreme, end of the road security storage for the things that could get clobbered on the 0.0001 chance that they could get clobbered.
Oh, this is like the seed vault in Greenland.
Exactly. Greenland has a seed vault where plants that get contaminated and killed off can be regenerated from the seed vault. Literal, real plants, etc., etc. We live in interesting times and have interesting tools to combat that. Well,
And if the electricity is running so that we can...
Facebook's software kit. Maybe I should have put this under FOSS News or Hot Software. I'm really not sure. But it's sitting here at the moment. I may move it. Their software kit allows easy programming from any developer base, any operating system, into Google Android. So this is sort of the opposite of what we were talking about earlier. If you want to program your stuff into Android, you may want to know about this. And I believe they're making it public now on purpose to make that easier to do. So I'll include it, and we'll find out
Faithful
then.
software
But-
crashes.
But it also has the bad habit that it's been the version that's out there right now for use, as they're trying to bring it across, is crashing popular apps. So we'll read about it now and talk about it later in terms of practical use. And I don't think this is going to be of interest to anyone except a app developer. So some of you will be letting me know more about it later. This is just plain fun, and it was too good not to put in. We talk about artificial intelligence, and a bunch of the programs we're using are now using levels of artificial intelligence. But this one is a proposal for the opposite. Why would you propose the opposite? Well, it's all explained in 3 easy steps, so let's do it. Here's the 3 steps.
Why am I not seeing it over here?
Everyone should be seeing a cartoon now.
Ah, that's why.
And the artificial AI equipped smartphone is now artificially producing exactly what the pointy-haired boss said, because it will make humans think they are talking to one of their own. That's why it's acting dumb, and that's why it's important. So there you go. If you've been reading something altogether too techy to get it running, and we give you a common English way to read it, here's the program that will translate it automatically. I'm ready for one. That's just fun. Dilbert isn't proposing to deliver. BUOH offers comic strips online. But somebody told me it was kind of questionable. And that's why I linked it in to alternative.net, so you can look around for alternatives if you don't want to click the button. I think Firefox served me up a warning from some third party that it was on a page that someone had put up a warning about. So it's very third hand, and you might want to go ahead anyway, and you might not. But it's a good example of where alternative2.net is something I would reach for. Might be great fun. Relaxing video takes you to some stuff you might like to have available for background. Deep sea videos look like an interesting one to get to for fun on your computer. Put something good on your display that's not where you usually go. This is more of the same. And Jill is going to demonstrate one more in that collection.
Wait, what about a hand box?
Where'd it go?
Oh, you put it down here.
Oh, it comes after Dennis. But well, Dennis, would you like to go first? We can do it either way. Jill is going to take you on a trip around the world on your computer with a little AI and a little help from people who have window cams they've allowed to be shared that way, all around the world. And most of them are in interesting places, but not all. First, Dennis is going to demonstrate the logical follow-on to the Android tools we were just talking about, and that's Anbox. Can you switch it in without my help? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I believe I can.
Okay, put it aboard and I'll go take a look.
You may have to stop doing your sharing, which would
I'll
be
have to
down
back.
here.
No.
Stop
Right.
sharing.
We are waiting for Dennis.
Right.
Can you see my screen now?
I can.
Yes.
All right, so Anbox allows you to run Android programs on your desktop. I run Fedora, and I have not figured out how to install it under Fedora. And basically, the instructions seem to say that they don't suggest you go over and try, and instead you should just use Ubuntu.
Huh.
I think in general that doesn't install a lot of confidence in me. But I ended up setting up a virtual machine with Ubuntu to try it out. So the instructions that you find on their website is wrong. But Bob went over and emailed me an article that had the correct instructions to do it. Basically, the kernel modules that they used to have you use, you no longer need to install. So this is it up and running. This is where I have encountered some problems. The only way to get programs into it is to use a Android tool to be able to load them in. So I downloaded a few games that I have from a site called itch.io. And they have some games that are available for Android. So I downloaded the APK file and I uploaded them into this program. And of all the ones that I downloaded from itch.io, none of them worked. I suspect the reason for that is because of the fact that Anbox does not have the Google Play, and a lot of the programs will use services from that. So if it can't find them, they just don't run. It's possible to go over and extract that from the Android SDK, I believe, but I haven't gone over and tried that yet. Instead, I installed F-Droid so that way I could download some open source programs that do not use the Google Play services at all. So this is F-Droid, and right now it's not finding anything. It worked when I installed it the first time. I don't know why it doesn't find anything now. Again, this doesn't help my confidence in Anbox, but I only found this out today, so I haven't had time to investigate why this stopped displaying anything. I've downloaded a bunch of different games here, so you've got this one here, and it doesn't work. In fact, I don't think I can get out of it. So yeah, this game doesn't work. I installed this Pixel Dungeon game. That didn't work. I installed the Pixel Wheels. That also didn't work. The one game I have gotten running is Sudoku. So I can continue the game I've started. And so one thing I've initially said that this does not work because it works for the most part, but I can click on a square, and I couldn't figure out how to actually select a number.
Just type it. Doesn't work.
Now, because this is designed for a smartphone or a tablet, you're not supposed to have a keyboard. So typing it doesn't work. What I did happen to notice by chance today is that if I stop it from being full screen, it puts the numbers over on the side. So this one is actually playable. But I haven't gotten anything else to work with it yet.
Dennis, were you using ADB to move things over if you didn't use the Play Store or F-Droid?
That's what I was using, yes.
Yeah, I've done that with Android x86. You may want to try Android x86. I've got a bunch of games running on that.
Well, my goal was to get the Google Play type games running, so.
Those run.
So that's all there is to it. Any questions?
Well, if anybody comes up with some nice games they like from either F-Droid or the Play Store, I think I posted some to the list, but if you have some you like, I'd like to hear about it because I'm always looking for new stuff. And somebody also on the Software Freedom Day list posted a bunch of Android apps that are open source on Libre Planet if anybody wants the links to that. And I guess I'll also mention Software Freedom Day is this month. So if anybody wants to join us Sunday, we're going to be doing something with Libre Miami online. And I guess the official one is next Saturday. It's Saturday, 2 weeks from, a week from this Saturday.
You want to ask a question?
What?
Did you want to ask a question?
I want to get back to my screen. My computer got misset from somewhere else, apparently.
Well,
I think I'm back. Could you please post that other information onto our discussion group?
Is that the mailing list?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Then people can find it there. And anything else like that, that's a good repository for sharing information of that sort. Speaking of sharing,
you want to turn it over to me?
yes, better. You're set to go?
Yes.
Good. Jill is about to kick on with another nice demo.
And this is an interesting site. Some people who've been
Jill, Dick muted himself, so we're not hearing you.
please.
Carefully.
Okay.
Are we back?
Now, do you hear me now?
Good.
Okay. I'm not sure where I got cut off, but I'll start
At the beginning, Jill.
Oh, okay. Because of COVID-19, a lot of people have been confined to homes or apartments, and they get tired of looking out of their windows at a little view of the world. And they thought that it would be nice if they could look out other people's windows and see what other people were doing. So they set up a server And they've solicited 10-minute videos of what it looks like out of your window, which you can send to them. And then they have a place to click on. It randomly shows you the view out of someone's window somewhere in the world. So it's really cool. Now, it's called Window Swap. That's window-swap.com. There's another place called windowswap.com without the dash that does not work. But you go there and you get the screen that I'm showing, and you click open a new window somewhere in the world, and it brings up a random window. This one is in Melbourne, Australia. And you can watch it for the 10 minutes, or you can click at the bottom here and open a different window. And this one is in Pickering, Canada. And some of them are more interesting than others. This one's in Australia, again, Gold Coast. Vail. You want to look out at the
Where?
Vail, Colorado, USA, the ski runs that are currently green. This is not live, because if you look at places, say in India, it's daytime when it's daytime here, and etc.
And I think Vail, Colorado has snow today.
Here's Malaysia.
Don't breathe deep.
Right. Suffolk in the UK. In Uruguay. Some of them take longer to come up. I'm not sure why. What's interesting to me is how much all of these cities all over the world look the same. Switzerland, Lausanne. The sky is obviously looking out at a very boring little patio or courtyard. Some people have cats in their windows. Singapore, all the cars look the same. Everything looks the same. This one is different. This is somebody on a train near Moscow, and they took their 10 minutes of video out the train window. So that was kind of cool. I see you're not seeing it as smoothly as it's actually playing.
This will be a lot nicer to watch tomorrow when you've got a direct link.
Well, or after we get off. Here's Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York.
New York.
New York. St. Martin, the Dutch island. Oh, this one's at night. This one's in the UK, Leeds. Maybe that one's live. I don't know. This is Florida, Hanover, Germany, etc., etc. Anyway, I thought it's a good way to kill time. It's a good time sink, shall we say.
It's also a nice way to get a feel for what's different and what isn't different in geographically different places, including Antarctica, including a few places above the Arctic Circle.
Several places in India, several places in Africa as well. Obviously, people that have access to the internet. So in India and Africa, it will be the more wealthy people.
And I believe that during the formal portion of this show, I failed to display something, so I will display it. kind of big as a wristwatch goes, pretty small as a computer goes. And again, $11 in a few days if you want one. If I press the on button, it comes up. Can I get closer without?
Up here.
Oh, that's my problem, of course. Not too bad.
Yes,
And-
an analog display.
And it goes to, well, honest, it goes to different ones. So you've got different wristwatches, different tools of many kinds. If you want to work with an $11 computer, I can't think of a better start.
Cheaper and smaller than a Raspberry Pi.
We've come to
Barry's
the
got
end.
one too.
We've come to the end of everything on our checklist. If there are questions about what we did or other topics, anybody want to do more at this time, raise your hand.
Actually, I have a question.
But you didn't raise your hands. Okay.
Okay, here's my hand. We've been doing various medical visits online, and one of them, I think it's called telehealth. It won't let me go on with Firefox under Ubuntu because the Firefox is not up to date. And when I try to update it, Ubuntu says I am not allowed to update it except through the software center. And I've got the most recent version that's in the software center. They also have a thing for doing it through Google something or other. And it turns out when I click on that, it thinks that I'm on a phone and it wants to download from Google Play, and it won't let me do that. So we can't use telehealth.
Well, we can. Sure.
Is there an alternative?
The alternative is to download the new Firefox for Linux, not from Ubuntu. But I still don't understand why they're complaining.
Yeah, Ubuntu complains about that.
No.
Question. Is this Firefox that you have from the Ubuntu Software Center, is it a snap?
Is it what?
A snap. There is a Firefox snap.
That's a possibility. I don't know.
Snaps are very restricted.
Explain the difference quickly for people who...
Snaps will only update through whatever authority controls that snap. And the result is the whole package has to be able to update. And it's only what's in that repository. So Mozilla maintains a higher version in their repository, but that repository isn't a snap. It's a regular app.
That's a good point. Let me rephrase that a little bit. A snap is basically a complete package, including a bunch of dependencies that may already be aboard, may not. And if we're trying to mix snaps with non-snaps, the non-snap version may be coming up empty for some dependencies if it's going through the snap route. But the point is we can get non-snap other versions that will run. We just haven't tried that yet, but we shouldn't have to. It surprises me that we ran into the issue.
Well, I ran into the same problem with Google Chrome or Chromium on Ubuntu or any Linux. If you go with the repository version, you may be behind by a little bit. And yet, if you go directly to Google and download their Linux version, either a deb or an RPM, you can install it, but you might have this little slight risk you might not have a dependency or two.
Well, that's true. There's always a lag because it has to come from the main place to get there. And we covered a bunch of topics today where they're recommending everyone not go to them immediately. They're not in development, but neither are they quite complete. And you might want to stay with an older one or just not start it yet until you get the next release of theirs. We talked about a few of those. So maybe Ubuntu is taking that position on the newest Firefox.
Firefox, I agree. Chrome Beta, I've had no troubles with for years.
Live streaming is on.
For Firefox, it could also just be error from the developer. Maybe they're presumably checking the information that the browser is sending as to what version you are, and maybe they're just checking for the string that comes from Mac and the string that comes from Windows, and don't have it coded to accept Linux.
Aha, maybe I should try Chromium.
Maybe you should try a clone of Chromium. The Clonium.
I just sent some of those links to the mailing list.
Thank you.
Excellent, thanks.
Regarding those strings being operating system dependent, I have had that happen at some secure sites.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure there's a bunch of levels at which something could be going wrong. I expect in a day or two we'll have an answer, but don't know yet.
I do have a extension for Firefox that allows you to go over and say, I want you to send that I'm on Windows. And so it will send the exact same information as if it was on Windows, and can do the same thing for mobile, so that way you can test how a site would look if you are on a mobile phone.
And what's that called?
Let me check.
That would be good.
By the way, just sending that string will not necessarily make telehealth work with Linux.
So this is Hertz fake a computer.
Yeah, you fake it, but sometimes the app really does need something that's not in Linux.
Sometimes they need it, and sometimes they just look for certain browsers and lock everybody out.
Yep.
True that. True.
Or they don't need it, but they think they need it, so they wait.
Yeah.
The one I'm using is called User Agent Switcher.
Yeah.
User Agent Switcher, so noted.
And that will work on many sites, but there are some sites which are really particular about ad blocking, and they can see right through that, and they still won't let you in. Because they can fingerprint a different way.
Oh, we can always try it. Thank you.
I put a link to the URL in the chat.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
There's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip. A lot of ways to go wrong.
Yes. Try them all.
Anything else, folks? I think not.
Well, before we do
Oh.
this, I'm going to make sure that I can
Or
save.
do you
the
want to
chat
keep
stuff.
everyone on?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm clear now. I'm just making sure I could copy the chat into a text file so that I would have it after we hang
That's
up.
not appropriate to the group.
Right.
Okay, folks, I think we're home free. Have a good month. Stay well, stay apart, wear a mask, and don't tell them when they say, "Who is that masked man?" Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Dick. Thank you.
Bye-bye.